Hello and welcome. So happy to see you. In this video, I want to talk to you about how and why I stopped drinking. I've actually held off on making this for quite a while because I didn't want to make it a big thing, a big to-do, like I'm going sober, my battle with drinking, because it wasn't really like that. But I see a lot of folks even wondering if it's possible to survive without drinking, and I'm here to tell you that, yeah, you can. So spoiler alert, you don't need to stick around to the end of the video. That's the conclusion. However, it's kind of a interesting journey of how I got there, and if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you the story of how my friends had a nationwide prank that they were pulling on me, and I'll explain that at the end, I promise. But basically, to kind of tell this story backwards is, I know a lot of folks wonder about, well, am I going to lose my social circles and I'm in a really difficult situation? I didn't really have any of that. Looking at it now, I definitely had a lot of things that I no longer have in my life, and that's a good thing. At the time, imagine a drunk fish going, "What water?" Right? That was kind of where I was. And when I was in it, it actually wasn't all that bad. It wasn't all that terrible. I didn't lose my job. I wasn't in danger of losing everything I ever cared about. However, there were things in my life that got better when I stopped drinking. So part of my story is I did October for 1 month where I just went without drinking at all. And then November rolls around, go to a party, and I literally have one beer. And then next day, I get gout. Yeah, I get gout. The old person's thing where your foot really hurts. And I'm here to tell you, it really hurts. I couldn't sleep. If my foot touched the bed, it would wake me up. It was that kind of a thing. So it became one of those things that, when I drink, my foot really hurts. So it was actively painful for me to drink. That was an easy thing to go, this is hurting me. I don't like feeling this way. And in the I don't like feeling this way bucket, hangovers started lasting days, where I would drink on Friday night, maybe a little bit on Saturday, all day Sunday. I would just feel slow, wouldn't feel up to my normal bright-eyed and bushy-tailed self. And then Monday, I would still be dragging ass. And Tuesday, start to feel okay. And when that hangover started lasting days on end, I realized that the fun I was having was not worth the days of paying for it later. And that's when I really understood the saying that drinking is stealing happiness from the future. Like, yeah, I felt that all day, every day, for several days after drinking. So that was one instance of why it really helped me kind of stop drinking. Another thing is, now looking back, I realize how much money I was spending on drinking. One of my favorite places in the world is a magic bar built in Chicago specifically for magic, and I would headline there about once a month, and you get a free drink. Awesome. But then, we still have a lot more night left. So wound up buying $15 cocktails and drinks, and eventually that adds up real quick. So I started really keeping track of how much I was spending, and that number was a lot more than I ever thought it was. I'd never been really great at keeping track of my finances and where money goes. And then when I really looked, that was another source of pain in the financial sense. On top of that, when I would have a couple of drinks, you know what? Why not have that plate of nachos? Why not have the chili cheese fries? So my health goals of I would like to be on planet Earth for a little longer than I would otherwise kind of factored into this as well, because it was easier for me to justify having the 2 giant burritos at 2 o'clock in the morning because, well, I got to have something to soak up all this liquor. And that was another angle of how my life was not trending in the right direction. And so you're starting to see how this was a much bigger part of my life than I realized when I was in the middle of it. It was just very natural. This is how it is. I mean, as a performer, as an entertainer on tour, people want to buy you a drink after a show. You did a great job. Can I buy you a shot? Please let me buy you a drink. I'm like, okay, if I have to. And then 5, 6 drinks later, you're hammered. And going even farther back, I was the tour manager for Brian Brushwood before he started Scam School. Scam School, if you don't know about it, you have to check it out. It is phenomenal. He created something incredible and amazing. And I helped run the camera. I was on camera a couple of times. Episode 6, The Lift, if you want to go check that out. You can see me with about an 8-inch tall mohawk that he gave me. So that's on the internet forever. And it was called Scam School, how to win free drinks at the bar and fool your friends. And we were professionally drinking on camera. We had a budget to keep drinks full and buy drinks for the participants and the volunteers who were on camera helping out. So that's when I learned how to drink. A lot. Like a lot. And there was the St. Patrick's Day that I don't really remember. We were on tour somewhere and we stopped in at the hotel, and there was a hotel bar on St. Patrick's Day and they didn't have green beer. Well, one of the cool things is that Brian cuts off his tongue during his show. So we always have red food coloring to make the fake blood. He doesn't really cut his tongue off, just so you know. And we always had the other colors of the food coloring. And I go out to the car, I get the green dye, and I bring it back and secret handshake with the person behind the counter. And she now has green beer. We're the heroes of the night. And we bought the first round of drinks and then none after that. And I got so hammered, I don't remember calling people, which evidently I did. It was people I liked, and I said nice things to them. But I don't remember that at all. There was another time on tour where I definitely went to sleep in the cot and I woke up in a different bed, and that was very disorienting. And that happened after, I drank a lot. So you can see how it didn't seem like it was that big a deal because these are wacky road tour stories. This is the kind of fun stuff you do as an entertainer. And now looking back on it, it's like, that was kind of not a great thing to be doing. And there was another holiday party where I got super hammered, escorted somebody home, and then threw up on the train platform. So I was that guy throwing up in public. So not my best look, right? So again, before I decided to quit drinking, all of this stuff kind of seemed par for the course and how everybody is, right? Because everybody, there's a lot of folks who this is par for the course, and it was for me too. So with the gout and the health stuff and how expensive it was, those were piling up. And the real last straw was I realized that if you've ever heard of intrusive ideation, where these ideas come out of nowhere, and to me, that's kind of funny as a mentalist and a mind reader, having thoughts from nowhere is just funny to begin with. But I realized that the only time that I would think about leaving my relationships was 90% of when I was drinking. And most of the arguments that I would have would be while I was drinking. And I realized that, okay, if I wanted these relationships to work, if I wanted this relationship to work, it would be a lot easier to make it work if I weren't deciding to do things that made it difficult to make it work, right? Because even more context, being a performer, being an entertainer, I've lived on the road. It's easy for me to change cities, change situations. If I don't want to spend time around this person, cool. I will never see them ever again in my life. There was one person I was dating who started sleeping with somebody else. And so next day, I just moved to another state, leave all my stuff, said, let me know when you're out of the apartment, then I'll come pick up whatever you don't destroy. And we'll never see each other ever again. How about that? So I'm used to just pulling the ripcord and disappearing. That's one of my favorite tricks that I learned from my magician friends. Thank you, magician friends. So that's the context of where I'm perfectly fine saying, okay, this isn't working. I'm gone and leaving. So that's the idea that would pop up is you just leave. You can just go. You don't have to deal with this. And I realized that this is a relationship I want. This is something I want to work at and keep into the future. But when I would drink, that idea would pop up and I would have more arguments with people that I actually like being around. And that was the moment where I decided, okay, this isn't worth it. I don't want this temptation, and drinking makes this easier for me to make a decision that sober me would not want me to make. So I'm going to try this whole thing without drinking and see how that goes. If the same problems crop up, okay, cool. I'll at least be able to meet them level-headed and to make better decisions than drunk me makes, evidently. Spoiler alert, my life got way better. Way better. My relationships got way better. Still have arguments, still human, yes. Even the master mentalist, the master mind reader, the professional communicator, yeah, you still have miscommunications, you still have arguments, and they're still frustrating to go through. But you know what? It's a lot easier when you're not doing it on 5 whiskeys a night, not drinking half a bottle of whiskey. So, how did I do it? I just decided not to. It really, I don't know what to tell you. It wasn't a struggle. It was that the physical pain was sufficient enough to go, I never want to experience that ever again. The financial pain, holy crap, I could buy a lot more magic books if I had that money in my bank account still. Okay, cool. My relationships, okay, these will be a lot better. Therefore, it's an easy decision. So I tried it for a weekend to not drink, and I go, man, I feel amazing. And I don't feel not amazing. It's incredible how not bad I feel. And that was a huge clue that maybe I was onto something. So the weekend was good. Let me try this the whole week. Then the whole week, and I'm going, I'm sleeping great. I don't have acid reflux. I'm not waking up at 2 a.m. coughing up puke. This is fantastic. And now when I'm saying it out loud, you're like, man, that must have been really bad. And it was. Again, I didn't realize just how miserable I felt all the time because I was drinking all the time. So try that for a week, then go for a month. And after a month, I just go, well, I guess I don't drink anymore. Okay, cool. So then the big question is always, well, how do you keep from drinking? How do you deal with peer pressure? There are a variety of ways, and I think of it as escalation, like an exponential curve, where I'll say, oh, I'm not drinking. And then if they push, oh no, have a drink. I go, I'm not drinking tonight. And then if they still push, like, oh, what are you a pansy or any kind of stupid high school level peer pressure thing? I just like to ask them, what is it that makes you want to push things on people who have stated twice that they're not interested in it? So what problem with domineering people do you have that you need to deal with? Is that something you'd like to work through with me right now in front of all these people? And they usually back off. So that's how I can be very disagreeable. I don't really care about the feelings of somebody who is purposefully trying to violate my boundaries and push my limits when I've clearly said I'm not going to do this thing. If you push, we're now enemies. You just gave up the you get to be nice card. So I'll deal with you like that if that's the only way you understand that I'm not drinking. And you don't get to check one off and be like, oh, I pressured him into it. You don't get to play that game. So I guess my best advice is become super disagreeable and understand that you don't have to prioritize somebody else's idea of what you should do when it is counter to what's best for your life. So prioritize your own well-being and make that your top priority. And then it's real easy to identify when somebody's being a dick about it. So tell them, you're being a dick about this and I don't appreciate it. If you keep it going, well, then we never have to hang out ever again because I don't hang out with assholes like that. So there you go. If you can't enforce those boundaries, that's an even bigger conversation to have about self-control, being able to have ownership of your time, attention, and boundaries. Because if I can't trust your no, I can't trust your yes. If you're saying yes just to go along, well then I can't really trust that because you don't feel comfortable saying no. So now I can't know when you're saying yes to make me happy versus yes because you want to be right. It's this whole thing. So get used to saying no so that you can preserve the things you want to say yes to, like being around longer, seeing your daughter grow up, being able to have a more successful career and better relationships with your friends, family, your wife, all that kind of fun stuff. That's why I wanted to make this video, is to share that it's possible to stop drinking. Your life won't fall apart, and the people who fall away because you're not drinking probably needed to fall away a lot sooner, and now you are realizing it. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share. And now, since you've made it through all of this, I'll tell you this story because this was years before I stopped drinking, and I like to call it I stopped drinking instead of I went sober, because I went sober tends to mean like, oh, I almost killed myself in an automobile accident and had a come to Jesus moment. So I don't usually put it that way. So this was way before that. And I'm at an airport, and this complete stranger comes up to me and goes, "Hey, are you a friend of Bill's?" I'm like, what? What are you talking about? My grandpa's name was Bill. What is that? What you're like? How do you? Wait, what? I'm like, oh, sorry, never mind. And they walk off. And then I'd be in another airport, and somebody'd be like, "Hey, are you a friend of Bill's?" I'd be like, no, but somebody else asked me that. What are you talking about? And they're like, "Oh, no, never. Don't worry about it." No, it's like, what is going on? Then random restaurants, people would be like, "Hey, you a friend of Bill's?" Why does everybody keep asking me that? I have no clue. I'm like, sorry to bother you. No worries. And it happens all over the country, all the time. And I'm in New York at a bar with a friend of mine, and I'm visiting, and he goes, "Hey man, congratulations." I was like, "Thank you." "For what?" He's like, "For going sober." I was like, "We're in a bar, right? I'm drinking. What could possibly make you think that I went sober?" He's like, "Your tattoo." It's like, "I dare you to make less sense. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Have people been asking you if you're a friend of Bill's?" I was like, yes, they're everywhere. And he goes, "Okay, here's the deal. Your tattoo, this one, is the secret symbol for Alcoholics Anonymous. And Bill is the guy that started the whole thing. So everybody thinks that you are in AA because you have their secret symbol tattooed on your forearm where they can see it." Oh, okay. Now it makes sense because sometimes after a show, the only thing that would be open would be a Chili's, and then the bar, you could order food there. So you just sit at the bar and you get faster service and you could order food. So then I would ask for a beer and I'd be like, yeah, I'll take a beer. And then they'd be like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, is there a problem with the tap or something? They're like, no, it's fine. Just wanted to make sure. And then they would pour the beer and look like I kicked their puppy because they thought that they were enabling me to fall off the wagon and I was losing my sobriety days and I'd have to give back my secret membership, and then they'd slide it across the bar. And I'm totally oblivious to all of this. And I just be like, yeah, I just had a show. It's great. And then the disconnect for them thinking that I was falling off the wagon, but super happy and nonchalant about how momentous this night should be from their understanding of where they thought I was. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. So in case you are wondering, this is a martial arts thing. The triangle is the shortest way to encapsulate space with straight lines, and the circle is kind of the indirect. So it's the direct and indirect methods coming together to encapsulate all space. So it's heaven, man, earth, kind of the man being the conduit between the two, and universe encapsulating all of it. It's a whole thing. It's not Friends with Bill. So I eventually found out what that was. And I was like, thank you very much for explaining that. The world makes a lot more sense to me now. And I was in line for barbecue. A lot of my stories start that way. But I was in line at barbecue, and it was a very long line, and we had been there for quite a while. And this woman who was behind me, been in line nearly as long as I have. And she goes, hey, are you a friend of Bill's? And I go, oh, I know what you're asking, and it's not that. And she responds by dialing it up to 11, I'm not an alcoholic, and then storms out. So whatever that lightning rod was, I struck it, and now I'm the asshole, and everybody in the restaurant is thinking that I clearly insulted her. So that's fun. So that's the story of how I thought my friends were orchestrating this nationwide prank on me, because I do have friends all over the country, and I do see my friends more often by chance in airports than I do because we decided to be in the same place at the same time. So in my world, that is entirely congruent with my friend group and my experience. So you can understand why I was that narcissistic to think that there was a nationwide conspiracy of asking people to ask me if I was friends with Bill. But yeah, that's it. That's the story. I wanted to make this in case you were thinking through this, if you were having trouble with it, or if you were wondering if life could continue without drinking. Yeah, sure. It wasn't a big deal for me. My life got way better. And since it is way better, I have zero motivation to go back to it. I do miss the fun social aspect of it, but I still could go out with friends if I had friends and didn't have a 10-month-old baby. Yeah, that's my priority. It's easy. Friends, I'll make friends later, but it's easier for me to want to stay home and see her grow up and be here when she graduates high school and goes off to college. I want to be around to see that happen. So it's a lot easier for me to make those decisions. So I guess the cliche way of putting this is find a why that's strong enough to overcome your desires. I guess, I don't know. Just try it for a weekend, try it for a week, and then you might like it, and then see how much money you saved, and that alone might do the trick. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this story. I would love to hear about your journey, your challenges, any fears you might have. So please, seriously, hit me here in the comments or send me an email. Supremely easy to get a hold of. And If you want more stories from on the road, behind the scenes, or in boardrooms about sales and negotiation and all that kind of businessy stuff, just head over to icanreadminds.com, where you can sign up for my secret email society. I'm currently emailing it 6 times a week, and every one of them, I want to be focused on helping you understand how to do things better by understanding how you think. So that's it. Thank you again for watching it this far. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up, you know the deal. If you didn't enjoy it, I'm amazed you made it this far. And either way, fool the algorithm by checking out this video next. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on other stories of me embarrassing myself across the country and the world. And I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and I almost forgot. How could I have forgotten my motto? If you can change your mind, you can change your life.